A brand new Proton experimental update has been announced, and this will make modding your Steam Deck games much easier. How does it do that? Well, I'll tell you in a little bit. But before that, if you like this video or any other video I've made on this channel, please like, subscribe, and share with all of your friends. Spreading the gospel of high-tech low-life really helps me in the YouTube algorithm, and it lets the algorithm know that you want more. And if you want to see more of me, check out Off the Console. On December the 12th, we'll be hosting a live episode watching the Game Awards. You want to hear who we think will win? Do you want to hear all of our spicy takes on the Game Awards? Then join Gardner Bryant Games Revealed and I on the Off the Console YouTube channel. YouTube is the place to watch us live, but it'll also be available on Apple Podcasts and Spotify after recording. And one more thing, not only will I be a presenter at the Steam Deck HQ Awards, but I've also apparently been nominated for Best Content Creator. For those not in the know, this is a Steam Deck specific award show hosted by Steam Deck HQ. Community voting is now up for community voted awards, so check it out. Pierre Lugrafy posted this change in regards to Proton Experimental. If you've ever read one of these Proton Experimental changelogs, you'll know there are a lot of changes, many of which are game specific and fix specific bugs with certain games. But every now and then you'll see tidbits like this that apply not just to a specific game but to Proton as a whole. One of which is this change right here. Added support for game mods that load via a custom dinput8.dll file. Depending on what game you're trying to mod, some games use dinput8.dll to essentially inject mod code into the game itself. About 2 years ago, I made a tutorial for modding the old Grand Theft Auto games, you know, the original versions of Grand Theft Auto 3, Vice City, and San Andreas. And of course, this required a custom dinput8.dll file. As you can see here, this was one of the necessary steps, adding a launch argument. Yes, these Wine DL overrides may override any default DLLs that Wine has, or at least the Proton prefix has. And that's how you loaded up custom DLL files to enable mods in the old Grand Theft Auto games. D3, D8, dinput8, and ddraw. You will still need the overrides for the other two DLL files, but for dinput8, it's not necessary anymore. dinput8 is a fairly common modded DLL that a lot of modders use for different games. Like for example, this right here. This is a Hedge Mod Manager. This lets you essentially manage multiple different Sonic games on PC. Games like Sonic Generations, Sonic Lost World, Sonic Forces, Puyo Puyo Tetris 2, and even some of the latest releases like Sonic Origins and Sonic X Shadow Generations. On their official tutorial guide for the Steam Deck, it mentions using Wine DLL overrides, but this step is no longer mandatory because of these Proton changes. Another game that has a dinput8 mod is Dragon's Dogma 1. Unlike the other two, this isn't a mod that enables other mods and lets other mods do things. It's just a fairly rudimentary mod with a couple of different options. But like the others, you would have had to use the Wine DLL override, and now you don't need it. Quite a few games use dinput8, and quite a few of those games' modding scenes use a modified version of that to essentially execute the mods and do whatever it needs to do. Yes, this Proton Experimental mod isn't going to make all mods easier to install. Some mods are completely different and they're still going to be as involved as they are. But for some of the more simpler mods, this is a godsend. It's one less step to deal with, especially if you have to use a custom dinput8 DLL. And this is much appreciated because sometimes modding games on the Steam Deck isn't nearly as easy as modding games on Windows, for a variety of different reasons, the DLL issue being one of them. But this isn't the only notable change Proton Experimental has brought to us. Valve also seems to be working on a voice synthesis solution. Think Microsoft Sam, but with Proton. Now, I don't think I own any games that make use of this, but Valve seems to know of one game that does use this. Infinite Stars, the visual novel. It's a visual novel, it's an adult game. If I had to guess, they're probably going to use it to make the ship AI or whatever talk. And one of the biggest changes that you'll never see on the Steam Deck is support for DLSS 3 frame generation. As you know, NVIDIA features don't really work all that well in GameScope, and also Linux in general because of NVIDIA. I suspect one of the biggest reasons why we haven't seen a general use SteamOS release is because the NVIDIA experience isn't great. You can't even use game mode with an NVIDIA GPU. That's how bad it is. Imagine releasing an OS that 70% of all PC gamers can't use. You know how bad that would look? But of course, Valve trying to get DLSS and all sorts of other NVIDIA features working well on SteamOS, is a godsend, and I firmly believe Valve will release SteamOS for the general public once NVIDIA works quite well on SteamOS. There's a bevy of other features and improvements, but one of the more important ones is updating DXVK, DXVK NV API, and VKD 3D Proton. Now, DXVK is one of the biggest cornerstones in Proton, and it's part of the reason why Proton can even exist at all alongside Wine. It translates DirectX 8, 9, 10, and 11 calls to Vulkan, and Vulkan is what Linux supports. And to be honest, without DXVK, we'd still be in the stone ages of Linux gaming. And fun fact, DXVK was born from the author's desire to play Nier Automata on Linux. As per usual, to access all of these changes, you will have to go into a specific game, press Properties, Compatibility, and check the box that says Force the use of a compatibility tool, and then select Proton Experimental. Do recognize that this is called Proton Experimental for a reason, so if it doesn't work, then uncheck the box or select a different version of Proton. And in other news, Valve is now selling Steam Deck OLEDs that are refurbished. The Steam Deck OLED normally goes for $549 for the 512GB model and $649 for the 1TB model. But of course, you'll find these refurbished units for $439 for the 512GB model and $519 for the 1TB model. Over $100 discount for both models, both of which are truly killer deals. Now, I've seen some people buy the refurbished models, and the unboxing experience is nearly one-to-one, and the device straight up looks new sometimes. If you need a Steam Deck OLED and you're okay with it being refurbished, this might be the best way to buy one. Now, these are only available in the US, as well as Canada, as well as the United Kingdom, and as well as the entire European Union. It's not available in Asia and Australia, and I'm not entirely sure why, but it is what it is, right? The big question now is, should you buy the Steam Deck OLED refurbished? If you're curious, then go for it. There's no better time to buy a Steam Deck OLED than now, especially when it's refurbished and a lot cheaper. But if you already have a Steam Deck, then maybe just, I don't know, wait for the Steam Deck 2 to come out. I don't know when that's gonna happen, so be prepared to wait a long time if you have to. If you like this video, please press the like button and check out our other videos, and if you like those other videos as well, be sure to press the subscribe button and share the good gospel of high-tech lowlife with your friends. Furthermore, we have a community Discord for enlightened individuals such as you. And if you wish to further support high-tech lowlife, be sure to check out our Patreon page. Links in the description.